When this game says upper torso damage, for most guns in the game, that also includes the arms. So there is no separate arm hitbox. So if you get hit in the arm, that's just like getting shot in the upper chest. For most guns, it's totally a gun-by-gun basis.
But it's commonly this kind of multiplier outline.
So this could be a big reason as to why you feel like you're dying faster than you should.
Activision devs do not play their own game.
3,000 devs can't figure out how to add a reconnect feature to a AAA title, I guess. I don't know.
Because Infinity Ward doesn't tell their consumers anything.
Maybe that'll take some of the sweats away from Shoot House.
You can cope about that, for sure.
Thanks for tweeting, at least. Thanks for doing more than Infinity Ward has done. They just keep tweeting about the soccer bundles in the store.
Things that are bad. We've got a couple words. Why don't you kick it off, Tanner?
This is going to be a longer section than the first part you guys heard.
Change it, obviously, of course. We are live, boys and girls. Welcome to the Dropshot Call of Duty Podcast, episode number 376. My name is Casey, also known as Razinon. Today, I'm joined by Tanner in the sweater, in the hoodie. Sweater weather over there, huh?
Yeah, it's raining.
It's raining.
A little drizzy out here, yeah.
Little Drizzy Drake out there.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's bright out here. It's very sunny. Yeah, it's also 60 degrees, though. It's a brisk, sunny day.
Yeah, that's always nice. Those days hit, man.
Yeah, I'd prefer snow and Edgar Allan Poe weather, of course. But anyways, welcome to the show. Today, we have a lot to talk about, actually. This is our first news podcast post-launch of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3.
Yeah.
And there is a lot to get into. They've updated the game some. There has been some content made as well on how some things work. And this is going to be a learning experience for you guys. You're going to learn a lot today about the video game, Modern Warfare 3, like we did. And I'm going to learn some stuff too. I'm excited, frankly. There's a lot to talk about, and I'm excited about it.
You're going to be learning today, man. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we're going to be learning today. And before we do, we have a couple of quick announcements. First and foremost, welcome to our new gold patrons, Colby S., Zane S., that's not a real name, Chris M., Matt J., and It's Why Plays. Let's go, boys. Thank you very much to our new gold patrons. Much appreciated. Better people than you have also joined the Patreon, though, one of whom is Spidey Shelf, Super Change It, our new platinum patron. And a better person still has upgraded to the Damascus tier of our absolute Patreon, Max Value. And I like this name, frankly. Pigtastic has upgraded to Damascus.
It's a cute name.
It's a very cute name. Yeah. I got an Instagram follower from someone named Blank Pig, by the way. And I suspect this is the same person. I think his last name is Pig, which is a new one for me. And I like it. You are a pig, so it makes sense that that would be your name. Yeah. So thank you very much, Pigtastic. And all of you are new patrons. It is very much appreciated. Speaking of the Patreon, our first bonus ep for this month, the glorious month of November, the post-launch month of November, has gone live today. And it was a girthy 2-hour multiplayer brainstorm episode. Tanner and I talked about kind of some random things, like some random little PSAs and tips we've learned playing multiplayer. And then we also talked about some standout weapons. And then mostly we got into perks. Now, I know we've talked already a lot about, even prior to this episode, MWIII perks. But this was the first time we talked about them post-launch, having all the perks and being able to use all the perks, all the relevant ones anyway. Shout out to the armory system. So we didn't talk about each individual perk in great detail like we've done in past episodes. Instead, we, again, highlighted some notable perks and why they're good, why they're bad, and how to build a class around them. And that is a little more complicated in MW3 because of the perk system and mainly the vest system, which can take away other perks categories or add a second perk category like 2 gear slots instead of 1 or 0, as well as field upgrades, tacticals, and lethals. It's kind of hard to craft a good custom class depending on what you want to do. And Tanner and I spent a lot of time getting into the weeds on that, about what is, good, what's bad. And in fact, I changed my custom class after the episode because like happens many times in these brainstorms, we start getting into the details and then we realize something like, oh, you know what? I should be doing this instead. So I've changed to the plan I said I was going to do, by the way. And for those of you who have heard it, update. It worked. Yeah. The new vest perk combo, I'm liking it way better than my old combo. I'm getting everything I want. It's fantastic.
Getting all of it, huh?
Yeah. So that was a long, fun, and exciting episode. And that is now live for our patrons. And by the way, if you're not a patron and you want to listen to it, patreon.com/thedropshot, or if you don't want to support us and you don't think our content is worth anything, why are you listening, number one? And then number two, also, you can wait until Saturday. We are going to, because we're gracious, kind, generous people, release this Patreon bonus episode to the public on Saturday. Now, let me be clear. It's going to be chocked full of advertisements, right? I mean, chocked full of them. I might sprinkle in extra ads because we can on Saturday, whereas patrons have already been able to listen to it and ad free. But if you can't wait, or if you can't, support once again, the program, patreon.com/dropshot, you can wait until Saturday. And that is what we are going to be releasing live in lieu of a Saturday episode for this week, because Tanner will be out of town. But I quite enjoyed that episode. Did you change any of your classes or perks or anything after it?
I haven't even really played since, so no, I have not.
Interesting. Do you plan to?
I mean, yeah, in like 4 days when I play again, I'll mess around with more things, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I like mine so much. I don't know, but like, obviously, I'm gonna try other things. But I really like my combo. Like, I don't want to change it whatsoever. But I'll mess around with some other things for sure. There's a lot of things to test still.
Yeah, there are a lot of things to test for sure. And we, at the end of the episode, we talked about that. Some things we wanted to try out.
Yeah.
And we'll update you guys on our findings. Probably sometime this month. Maybe next month, our next brainstorm. But yeah, that episode was really good. And just so you know, that'll be going live for everyone on Saturday. Normally, we don't release our Patreon episodes publicly, obviously, but sometimes we have to in a pinch. So that's what we're doing this month. And then for those of you who are patrons or are considering it, our next bonus episode's probably almost certainly going to be a preliminary camo grind tips episode. This will not be going public. You're going to have to be a patron for this one. Any tier, though. And we'll get into some camo grind tips. I already have quite a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Quite a lot. Too. That's all Tanner and I have been doing. We're not done, but with the grind by any means. No. But
what percentage are you at? Have you checked your little spreadsheet?
I could check my little spreadsheet.
I'm only like 20%, I think.
Let me see. You're at 20%? I'm at 12.3%. However, you've been unlocking the 4th base camo for guns, right? I haven't been doing that at all. As soon as I hit max level,
I've been doing all
off.
of the, yeah. Well, it usually takes like an extra match or 2, 3 at the most. So yeah, I just always finish it. Also, if I'm using double XP at the time, then when I hit max, I'll switch to another gun until that token runs out, and then I go back to the gun to finish the last challenge.
Yeah, see,
because the last couple of times I played, actually, I don't even think I used double XP. Because like the guns were good, and I was like, I want to just save the double XP for now on guns I know I'll need it more on.
Interesting. But I have so many that I've just been gobbling them, but I might regret that, honestly.
Yeah,
because
I mean,
don't
you
know
think
if
you
I
have a
enough
lot
to get through all of them.
Exactly, and then you start,
Yeah.
Like I think next, actually, I think I'm gonna skip the SMG category. Honestly, maybe, I don't know. I think I want to do like shotguns or like snipers. The ones I heard are bad, and definitely use double XP on those because you're gonna get less kills with the sniper regardless. You're gonna be getting less XP. So I feel like I want to do that.
Yeah.
Go from there, but we'll figure it out.
That's not a bad idea. That's actually a good idea. Skip to like pistols. Maybe
pistols,
maybe the marksman rifles. I have no idea if those are good or not.
That's the other one. Yeah.
I haven't
heard too much about them at all.
I haven't heard anything good or bad about them.
Yeah.
So I am curious to see how those will perform. But
yeah.
Anyway, that'll be our next bonus episode on Patreon. That's not live yet. We haven't recorded it yet. But again, if you've been considering joining, and you're doing the camo grind, there's going to be a lot of info in there. Because again, we already have quite a few tips, and we've gotten some. We've outsourced some of it as well. From people that have like finished the grind or whatever. So that's going to be good. And then last announcement here, real quick. Quick PSA. There is 8 hours of double weapon XP that you can potentially get for no reason. In our Discord, join our Discord, go to the announcements channel toward the top, and the latest message Tanner posted is a link to a Charlie Intel tweet. And the Charlie Intel tweet has a little redemption code and the URL where you redeem it. And if you redeem the if you redeem the code, you get a bunch of stuff that doesn't matter, including 4 hours of double weapon XP, and you can redeem the same code twice, which is what I did. Some people say they were able to do it 100 times. Some people said they weren't able to do it more than once. Your mileage may vary. Most people have been saying they've been able to do it twice. I'm also hearing reports it doesn't work anymore. So I don't know, but it's worth checking at least. Join our Discord, go to the announcements, click on the tweet, follow the instructions. Takes 2 seconds. See if it works for you. You might as well try. It worked for me and Tanner, and we got another 8 hours of double weapon XP, which is really nice. So that is in our Discord in the announcements channel. Yeah. Real juicy. So anyway, any other announcements, little buddy?
No.
All right. If you're listening for the jingle, here it is. Let's get into it.
I don't know why the lighting won't focus today. It's like super washed out. It's weird.
Yeah, I wonder. Is it the white hat, maybe?
No, I've been wearing that, though, so I don't know. I was kind of thinking that, too, but I wear it all the time. I'm not sure.
That's weird. Very weird. All right, today, episode 376. So, first and foremost, patch notes changes already in effect. Since launch, we have gotten 2 patches from our friends, and they are our friends, unlike Infinity Ward, over at Sledgehammer Games and Treyarch, who are the authors of these patch notes. We had a patch on the 9th, and we had a patch on the 15th. So a lot of this is weapon balancing, and for now, we are not going to talk about weapon balancing at all.
No.
I still haven't used many weapons. The meta is by no means settled. People are camo grinding. I'm not going to get into buffs or nerfs or anything. If there was some crazy fire shotgun that was one-shotting at 30 meters, I would let you guys know if that got nerfed, for example. But really, no such gun exists. So I'm going to completely ignore weapon balance changes for now. We can expect quite a lot of that for the next month or so, I would say. And then once it kind of settles and maybe something is particularly OP and it gets nerfed or whatever, we'll get into details. but I'm not going to sit here and read to you guys the minor buffs and nerfs they've made to various guns or whatever. So with that said, on the 9th, there were quite a few little changes that we already actually talked about last week that were leaked by the leaking community before the launch. So things like kill streaks counting or showing now. So if you get like a third kill, it says that now. Increased visibility. Things like that are in these patch notes here, but we've already talked about them. So nothing to really say on that topic. One thing they did say though, actually, let me find it. I can't type. Okay, one thing they said they fixed: players will no longer be unexpectedly prompted to choose a loadout after earning multiple rewards. That's fake. They said they did this on the 9th, and I got this bug this morning. So this is a fake bug fix. This is our first fake news patch note. It's our first fake hidden patch note, really. Well, no, not really hidden patch note, actually. It's just a fake patch note. So hopefully IDub isn't rubbing off on them too much. But yeah, this is fake news, which isn't that big of a deal. Doesn't happen often. But anyway, yeah. And then there was another patch today. Now, to be clear, at the outset of this, they say, due to unforeseen issues, not all of the changes scheduled for today's update were able to be released. Our teams are hard at work to get key movement changes, multiplayer weapon balancing, zombies gameplay and stability fixes, and more into the next available update. So they wrote patch notes and basically said some of these are in now and some of them aren't. They didn't distinguish between the two. However, I will say the fact that they said key movement changes are not in the game yet leads me to believe the biggest thing that people have wanted, which is the post slide cancel tack sprint bug or change, whatever, that has not been addressed yet. They said they're working on it because it worked way better in the beta than it does now. You basically can't tack sprint after a slide cancel, and the slide cancel, like, your refresh timer is paused during it or something. It's very weird, hard to explain, but basically they said they're working on it, and that is still not fixed, which is kind of alarming.
They did do something today, actually. They did make a change to it. But it's still not like always working as correctly. So like Ace even showed a side-by-side. So still waiting on patch notes for today's update, but the mini map is fixed, blah, blah. It appears they reduced the post-slide delay back to the beta week 2 levels. And he shows a side-by-side. And you can tack sprint as quickly today as you could in the beta weekend 2, when everybody liked it. But I guess where the issue is when you start doing that numerous times, it remains bugged out, and then your tack sprint will not work correctly after like 2 or 3 slides or something. So it's definitely, I guess, better now than what it was, but it's still not what it's supposed to be. Okay. But who knows? There is a chance they're just lying to us again for the second year in a row, where the beta actually feels a lot better than the full release. So hopefully not. Hopefully we'll see what goes on with this next with the next movement update.
The fact that it's like better now, but it's still buggy, leads me to believe they genuinely do intend on changing it. And they're still talking about it. Like, they still mentioned it in these patch notes. So I'm optimistic, but you're right though.
I don't know.
You're right. We will see. So evidently it's better now, but yeah.
Somebody did comment and they were like, there's still an issue recharging when you chain slides together, but at this point it seems intentional. And then Ace does think that's intentional. So he's kind of thinking this is just how it's going to be. So he said, I believe that part's intentional. I remember an old blog talking about how they were allowing tack sprint to recharge when in a regular sprint, but not while sliding. Because it's like there's some and then J God responded to it, and I guess there's like an invisible stamina bar basically that the player doesn't see,
and the recharge is paused
mid
slide. Yeah.
Yes, correct.
That's what Repulse said like a week ago too.
Yeah, so that's why when you slide a few times, it's not working. So this may just be intentional at this point.
That does sound kind of intentional.
Yeah, but then why do they say key movement changes? I don't know.
Yeah,
but it could just
weird.
be fake patch notes like they always do.
Yeah, it's weird. So we'll keep you guys updated on that, but hopefully that shouldn't be true. You shouldn't be, because then you're punished for sliding.
Yeah.
Because now I move slower if I slide cancel. But like, what if I need to slide to get out of danger or something? And I wonder how that interacts with dives too. Like, are you paused while diving as well? How about if you just go prone? Like, probably not
probably
going
sliding
prone,
and diving, I bet.
Yeah, I would imagine both of them, which is not great. But anyway. And then besides that, there were, again, a lot of other things. Stability and performance kind of things, random bug fixes. And I already read through these. And a lot of weapon changes again. Or not a lot, but some. And then some zombies changes. But the only noteworthy things that I want to talk about from today's patch notes are... And again, these may or may not be in the game. They said only some of the stuff went through. Tac Mask, the perk gear, added immunity to flash grenades thrown by the player's self. So if you're running Tac Mask and you throw a flash at your own feet and stare at it, you won't get flashed at all. That's the intention. I don't know if that's in the game yet or not, but this is interesting and noteworthy because for SMGs, the last base camo is to get 15 kills on someone affected by your tactical.
That only works with stuns, supposedly. That's what I'm seeing now. Stuns literally the only tactical that's
Flash doesn't work?
I don't know if it's probably supposed to work, but I saw a couple of clips that said stuns are the only thing correctly working.
Interesting. Okay. Well, what I was going to say is, if that's true, then it's not working as intended. They intend for flashes to also work for that challenge. So if they fix that soon and you get to that camo, I would actually recommend running Tac Mask and flashes for that camo challenge on your SMGs, because that's like very easy if you don't have to worry about your own flash grenade to just flash a room and push it right when you do. And then it'll be going off when you're like starting your first bullet. And that's like free kills. Kind of toxic, but it would be really easy if you have immunity to your own flash. So I just thought I'd point that out. And then one bug fix as well that is noteworthy. Enemy player elevation will now be properly displayed on the minimap. So if someone is shooting and they're above you or below you and their red dot appears, you'll now see that they're above you or below you, like has been the case with red dots on minimaps since minimaps existed in Call of Duty multiplayer. Again, I don't know if this is in the game yet or not, but it's obviously supposed to work this way. So when you get a UAV sweep on Rust and the guy is right next to you, well, is he in the tower or is he like actually right next to you? Now you should know. So, or soon anyway. So it's kind of it there. Next is a little tweet from Charles Intelligence. This is from the patch notes, actually. Be on the lookout for an experimental playlist in the coming days featuring enemy player outlines. So this would be when you ADS on a player, a red outline will appear for enemies. Coming soon. So the experimental playlist is something I've only seen from Sledgehammer. The last time we saw it was in Vanguard, which is the last Sledgehammer title. And they just test out new stuff. And I guess this is the thing they want to experiment with, which is having players be outlined in red. One thing I said in our last episode, our first impressions episode of MWIII, is that I don't have too much of a problem with the visibility in this game. I do now. The visibility, I've come into a substantial amount more issues since that episode. It is nowhere nearly as bad as MW19, to be clear, but it is getting to the point where it's annoying how often it happens now. Not only dark spots, especially with like black operator skins, they are very hard to see in dark spots because you don't get the nameplate or diamond or whatever unless you're aiming at them. So if you're not aiming at them and they're black prone in a corner, a dark corner, you're probably not going to see them, which is annoying. And also smoke is like very hard to see through in this game. And I'm not referring to smoke grenades. It's probably also true for smoke grenades, but there's a lot of particle effects in this game. Like not even just on Rust. I'm talking about
Sledgehammer loves that. Yeah.
Explosions that create like plumes of smoke. It very specifically happened to me this morning. And I was like, that's annoying. And I don't like that. Someone shot like a grenade launcher or something. And I don't even know if it was the explosion or the shot itself, like the muzzle flash from the launcher. But there was a big plume of smoke in front of this guy. And that guy didn't see the smoke, I guess, because he just railed me through it. And I didn't see him at all.
Yeah.
So anyway, the visibility is not that great. So I'm curious how the feedback will be on this experimental playlist that will have player outlines on enemies, and if it would come to the base game. That would be interesting.
I feel like it probably should. I haven't seen this test yet, but this, of course, is what we talked about like 2 or 3 weeks ago. No, it was before the beta. Because when the beta came out, the number one complaint was visibility. And Charlie Intel and some other people that had played the game early, they were like, hey, when we played an early build a month or two ago, enemies had red outlines around them, and the game had much better visibility then. I don't know why, but now they've removed them. So it sounds like they're essentially just testing that again, which I would be all for. Because your friendlies have an outline around them too.
Like
if you
the
guys
blue
haven't noticed.
outline.
They have a blue outline. The only difference, of course, would have to be you see your teammates' outlines through smoke. Obviously, you wouldn't want that for enemies, right? Don't show an enemy's red outline when you're looking at smoke. That would actually be like the only thing that has to change, because you really don't notice it most of the time, but in certain situations, it really, like, you do notice that little outline, and it helps identify your teammate more easily, I think. So, and that's probably a big part of the reason why teammate visibility is a lot better from beta, because that was a complaint too. Everyone always shot their teammates. So it's probably the outline, and then whatever they put above the head is just a lot better. But
yeah,
you know, with visibility too, something I guess I don't really ever think about, but that guy that does aim assist testing videos, his name is Smith. He posted a screenshot comparing nameplates in this game. And he's like, don't forget, having a shorter name makes you much more difficult to be seen by someone because you don't have a long nameplate.
Yeah, true.
So like he showed some guy whose name was just like underscore, and all you see is a diamond. So you and I are so visible because of how long our name is.
Yeah, that's true.
It makes it so easy to see us.
That's true. Yeah.
So there's the strat. Hey, have the shortest name possible. Have it be one letter and then a bunch of underscores, and no one will see you.
Yeah. Can you change your name infinitely?
No.
Because I've changed mine. So
you get like tokens. I think you can do like 1 or 2 changes a year, maybe.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty annoying.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Anyway.
Let me go to the bathroom.
Yeah, regardless, that'll be interesting to see. And it'll probably be like the teammate outlines we have now, just in red. And they're not like obstructive or like gross looking. I know it could sound to some of you like, ew, player outlines, like that's so out of place in a COD game. I hear you, but it's really not that bad if they do it in the same way that your teammates are currently outlined. It's not ugly looking or out of place looking. It's very subtle, but it's also very good at allowing you to quickly ID that person is in fact friendly. I don't know how it works that well with as subtle as it is, but it does. Because it was a huge problem in the beta was shooting teammates, because I didn't realize they were my teammates. And then the outline came, I barely notice it, but I also never shoot my teammates anymore. So whatever they did worked. And if they do the same exact thing, but in red for enemies, that would be fantastic. So hopefully a lot of people...
That'd be a pog.
Yeah, hopefully a lot of people have good feedback on that experimental playlist. And by the way, if you want to do your part, this is how it worked in Vanguard. I played the experimental playlist in Vanguard, and after like my first or second game, a little survey popped up in game, and it was like, hey, how'd you like that? Or whatever. Like it asked, what did you think about the experimental thing or something? And then you could rate if it was good or bad or whatever. So if you want these outlines, play that playlist when it comes out, and then if you happen to get a survey in game, say this was really cool. Because if enough people say that, they will change it for the base game. So you could go play, you know, Hardpoint with it or whatever. So just keep your eyes on that. And then another thing here that was not in the patch notes, I don't think, but should have been. At COD Updates, the unofficial Call of Duty update account on Twitter, said on the 13th, we're investigating an issue where EOD padding, the perk/gear, is not properly mitigating explosive damage. I think we've mentioned this before. Maybe it was on that Patreon episode that most of you haven't heard yet. I don't know. But basically, EOD is not mitigating frag grenade explosive damage. And since the game just came out, most people are still using frag grenades. So EOD is just far less effective than it ought to be. And
it's not great.
They're aware of it and are looking into it. I don't believe this has been fixed yet, which is insane and really annoying. And I'm so tired of eating frags and having no recourse. But at least they're aware of it. So just wanted to point that out to you.
Yeah, I'm going to actually check the trailer right now to see what it shows, because they have been updating it so far.
I believe I checked it this morning, and it said no.
It still shows the tac sprint thing, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, EOD padding not working. Yeah, they are investigating, it shows. So, yeah, that's still not fixed.
Yeah. Hopefully they fix it soon, but anyway. And then other than that, as far as patch notes, changes already in effect, that is kind of it. As I said, there are more patch notes that we didn't go over. You guys can go to callofduty.com and look at them yourselves, but it's just a lot of weapon balancing, minimal weapon balancing, but on a lot of guns, and then just a lot of performance and like stability fixes. So, which is kind of what you would expect for early patches. So overall, though, the game's been performing quite well for me. I've crashed literally once, actually. Between beta and launch, I've crashed exactly one time. The performance has been amazingly good. Server side and client side for me.
And I've seen that everywhere on Twitter. Everyone's like, my multiplayer performance, my FPS, is so much better than it was in MW2.
Yeah.
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 Even on zombies, by the way. I don't think we've really mentioned this on a pod. Zombies is obviously on Urzikstan, which is the next Warzone map. I get way better frames playing zombies than I would right now if I launch into Warzone 2 on Al Mazrah. Way better frames. I think I get more frames on large map Urzikstan than like Ashika even, honestly. So that's a really good sign going forward into Warzone and everything as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, we have a tech nerd in our Discord, supposedly anyway, who knows? I mean, his work has been shoddy supporting me technically, but he ostensibly knows what he's talking about. And he was saying, yeah, Sledgehammer optimized this game really, really well. Yeah. And it does, in fact, launch fast, according to him. Edgy is who I'm talking about, of course. He was like, yeah, this game does launch fast. It's not just you. So shout out to that. I'm not surprised. Optimization is very good. So anyway, with that said, we have a couple of other things to do, to go over, rather. A lot of content creators have been getting very busy and explaining some things, how things work in this game. And it looks like how they compare to MW2 as a frame of reference. What is this first little item, Tanner?
Yeah, so starting off here, we have a TrueGameData video talking about the time to kill. So this has kind of been another fairly big topic going around. Everyone's like, okay, My time to kill when I shoot people feels slower with 150 health, but I feel like I still die immediately, right? So a lot of people have been saying that. So he goes over that. So if you show this first image here, showing the difference between Modern Warfare 2 damage profiles and Modern Warfare 3 damage profiles. And what you're seeing here on the top are common profiles for MW2. So you see like the arms are green, the legs are green, meaning those do a different amount of damage, obviously, than like the chest does or something, right? So
yeah, so they're like
if you shoot someone in the chest, you'll do more damage. If you shoot someone in the leg, you'll do less damage. The arms will do less damage than the chest, right? Yeah. And then, of course, the head and neck multiplier. So on the bottom, what we're looking at here, when this game says upper torso damage, for most guns in the game, that also includes the arms. So there is no separate arm hitbox. So if you get hit in the arm, that's just like getting shot in the upper chest. For most guns. It's not always the case. It's totally a gun-by-gun basis.
But it's commonly this kind of multiplier.
Yes.
Outline.
So this could be a big reason as to why you feel like you're dying faster than you should. It's because of that. So when people are hitting those arm shots, yeah, it's doing the same. It's just like hitting your chest. Yeah, I don't like this whatsoever. So, yeah. So he said, in MW3, anything on the upper body is all chest and neck damage. So you see, so on this bottom image here, you see the middle guy, that big red zone going all the way down.
Yeah.
That's how far the neck goes in this game.
The neck multiplier, which is higher than the upper torso.
The neck hitbox is even larger than MW2.
Wow.
Neck hitbox.
Yeah.
And also, for most guns, neck and head, or pretty much all guns in this game, I think, it's the same amount of damage. So you could shoot somebody, basically some dude right above his nips, right in between it, and that's like neck damage, which is the same as a headshot.
Yeah. Way more bonus damage, yeah.
Yes.
That's pretty wild. I think the biggest thing is arms having the same multiplier as chest. That is the biggest contributing factor to why the time to kill isn't as slow as you'd expect. Because in MW2, if someone's running perpendicular to you and you're shooting and you're aiming at like center mass their chest, you're getting like half of those shots to be chest multiplier, and then the other half are getting arm multiplier, which is way less damage. But in this game, it's as if you're shooting all upper chest, which is going to do more damage than arm shots, which is why it's going to feel like you're dying fast or killing fast, I guess, if you're hitting those shots. That's a very big deal that arms don't count as limb damage for a lot of these guns. And that is going to like counteract the extra health. It's like, cool, you gave me extra health, but also everyone's doing more damage because arm shots count for way more than they used to now. That's very interesting. That does explain a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so the next image here, if you go to the next one, this is showing the head hitbox. So this is fun. So the left guy here, he's showing an operator with a helmet on. He's showing him standing there looking at the camera. Basically, TLDR is the head hitbox is definitely a lot larger than the head.
Yeah.
I mean, it extends past the head. So he's showing here, for example, this guy has a helmet. So his head appears even bigger, right?
Yeah.
And the hitbox is extending well past that.
Yeah.
So some operator that doesn't have a helmet, like actually, if your barrel is against this guy's head in the game, for example, you could honestly shoot like what would look like an inch or so off this guy's head, and it's still going to count as a headshot.
Yeah.
Like the hitbox just extends well beyond the head. And so that's a front view. And the neck multiplier, the neck hitbox as well from the front goes down lower than what the neck is. Then he shows the side profile and the back profile.
That's a neck shot?
Yeah.
Oh,
it goes down very low. Yep.
And it's also like his deltoid.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Okay.
And then the last image, that's shooting the guy in the back.
Yeah.
So you're shooting a guy like in his upper back, and that's counting as like neck or head hitbox.
Did he mention that this is more generous than other games?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, yeah. So like if you guys can see my mouse moving right here, right? If I shot this person here where my mouse is, which is actually so far off, I would get a headshot.
Yep.
That's pretty crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
You know what game has generous hitboxes, particularly on the head, by the way? Treyarch games.
Game ever made.
Yeah. So, and Treyarch do be supporting, so this does make sense. Yeah. So this would probably explain some weird hit reg issues or dying behind a wall.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's probably because of generous hitboxes. And these might extend to the torso too.
Yeah, that, and then he also talked about why it feels like you get one framed often. He said that's mostly just basically bad servers, low quality servers. If someone has higher ping, for example, it was kind of like he was saying
lag comp.
The server still has to register that. So like on your end, even though on his end he's shooting you as normal, on your end, because he has a higher ping, it's like you're going to be hit with 2 or 3 bullets at once. So it's going to feel, because the server doesn't render it fast enough.
Yep.
And so it's going to feel like
super bullets.
Those are just all coming at the same time. So that's why you're like, how that I did not get hit 5 times there, right? It's just fake news. So that's what he said.
Yeah. Yeah. Lag compensation, super bullets. If you guys have been playing FPS games for a while, you'll know all about both of those things. Yeah, that makes sense. Did he mention what the tick rate is of the servers in this video game?
No.
I'm curious what it is.
What is it normally in multiplayer COD? I don't even know.
I think it was a big deal that MW2 had 60 tick multiplayer servers, which was an upgrade from like
24 or something.
12, I think it was before. 12 tick servers in older games than MW2. I could be wrong on those numbers, but I am curious what the tick rate is of the servers now. Tick rate, by the way, you know how your monitor has hertz or refresh rate? So your monitor creates a new image 120 times a second if you have a 120 hertz monitor. Server tick rate is the same thing. How many times the server is updating every player's information per second. So if you have a 12 tick server, the server updates its info 12 times per second, which is not good, by the way. So for context, a game like Counter-Strike or Valorant, these like competitive games, they have 120 tick servers, way more than COD has. And that's why you won't die behind a wall in Valorant. I think you will in CS2 because the game's bad or something. I don't know.
Yeah, something's messed up with like CS2 hitboxes, I think is what it is. But I think when you play like the competitive leagues in CSGO, I think they were even higher tick rate. I think they had higher than 128.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they're crazy high. Yeah.
Yeah.
But those games are competitive and they have to host a very, very small amount of servers compared to COD, so.
To be clear, I don't demand 120 tick servers, but like 60 tick would be nice if we could do that. Yeah. You know, more than 12 would be good. But anyway.
I mean, and Warzone's even lower.
Yeah, I think Warzone was I don't remember. Warzone, I want to say 30, 10. But it felt like 0.1.
Also, I don't think anyone really knows because like one person will say like, oh, Warzone has 60 tick servers. And then some other guy will be like, actually, it's 12. So I don't know how they find out and how they know, but I know there's also always discrepancies in who says what. So we don't really know.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
Today's episode is brought to you by us. This is our ad for our own Patreon. And if you've been considering joining the Patreon, as we've been saying the past few weeks, now is the best time with the release of MWIII. Tanner and I have been sinking our teeth into it a lot, and we have a lot to say. Join at the gold tier for just $5 a month for early access and ad-free public episodes, 3 COD-related bonus episodes every month, and every bonus episode we've ever recorded in the past as well. And then you also get an exclusive patron-only Discord channel. Our first bonus episode this month, you will hear, in fact, on Saturday, is a multiplayer brainstorm. Tanner and I talked for about 2 hours about some of the weapons, some kind of random multiplayer observations we've made, and then a real deep dive into what the best perk combo is with respect to vests, what they give you, what they take away, etc. It was super productive. We even came up with new ideas, and that is available for our patrons right now, and for the rest of you, it's going to go public as a little preview app on Saturday. Or Saturday already happened when you're hearing this ad. That's possible as well. And the next bonus episode we have planned is a preliminary MWIII camo grind tips and tricks episode. We've gotten well into a lot of the camos. We've done a lot of them already. Not totally done yet. We'll probably end up doing 2 of these episodes, but we're going to start with 1 because we're probably ahead of quite a few of you, or at least we've learned different things than you have. If you wanted even more content, Platinum for $10 a month gets everything from gold, plus a Q&A, bonus episode, and then Damascus gets all that, plus at $20 a month, a behind the scenes episode and a monthly hangout. It's a lot of fun. If you hated hearing this ad, join the Patreon. You'll never hear an ad again. Ours or, third parties or whatever. So figure it out. Patreon.com/thedropshot. Let's get back to the show.
So moving on here, again, that was from TrueGameData. Next video here, XclusiveAce. He's kind of showing the same thing, like the hitboxes, the damage values for guns. So first image here, for example, he's showing the damage values using a striker SMG. So in the game, this was a topic of discussion when people started looking at detailed stats. They're like, why does it only show headshot damage, upper torso damage, and lower torso damage? No arm, no leg. Well, again, this is why. Because upper torso damage usually includes the arms, right? And then as the shows here, lower torso damage, all the legs, all the way up to your mid torso right there, right? So that's how it is for all guns. Just kidding, it's not. Go to the next image. This is a different gun, right? So here's the MWIII. In-game stats show, again, a headshot damage, an upper torso damage, and a lower torso damage. So you would think, okay, upper torso damage, that means arms too, right? Because that's how the other gun was. No, and you're wrong. On this gun, which is the MWIII, the lower torso damage is the same damage as the arms. And then upper torso is just a small hitbox as your upper torso. That's
and
all
then
of
there's
them,
an
right?
additional...
No, and then you're also wrong again. This gun also has a different damage profile for the legs that's listed nowhere. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was going to be my question.
Yeah, so there's a lot of them there. And it's just not stated anywhere. So usually, though, he did say for most guns, upper torso damage is going to be equal to arm damage as well. But that's not the case for everything. So he's like, the
really
stats
annoying.
aren't necessarily, he's like, they're not wrong. The numbers they give you are correct, but they do not do a good job at all detailing what upper torso is. And then also, obviously, for other guns, there's a whole different damage profile in your legs.
Yeah.
So this, again, could lead to why everything feels so
true, for sure.
inconsistent.
For sure.
Totally depends on what gun the person's using.
Yeah.
Plus, hey, there's probably a gun out there where the head hitbox is also the arm hitbox, I bet. Because, I mean, these vary quite a bit.
Yeah. This is not great. Because, like, I'm a big fan of the detailed stats view. By the way, this morning I was looking at an attachment, and the detailed stats versus simplified for the attachment were at odds. So I was like, oh, I guess I can't trust these anymore. And then the update came out today, and I went to go screenshot that attachment stats discrepancy, and they fixed it.
Yeah.
So the simplified and detailed view were both the same. And I was like, oh, cool, they fixed it. So, like, maybe I can actually trust the gunsmith, the simplified and detailed stats now. And I won't have to go out of game to sim.gg or truegamedata.com to get damage values and multipliers, whatever. But I guess that's wrong, because clearly these are things you would want to know about the MWIII versus the striker. First of all, one of them has 3 profiles, one of them has 4, and then also upper torso doesn't mean the same thing for both of them, nor does lower torso. Also, the AMR9 has a damage value that isn't even listed in game. Yeah. So I was really looking forward to not having to go to third-party websites to get information on the guns I'm using. But unfortunately, that's just not the case.
Yeah.
Still.
That's,
which is a real shame.
Then he goes on and talks about all the other detailed stats in the game. And most of them are pretty spot on correct. So damage range, he said in his testing, was always perfectly accurate. So, you know, when you see like effective damage range, I think it's called in this game, that's just the max damage range.
Max damage range, yeah.
So if your SMG says like 9.4 meters is your effective damage range, that is your max damage range. And then there's also effective minimum damage.
I think it was minimum effective range.
Yeah.
I remember.
So that was always accurate too with his testing. He's like, that's spot on. I tested numerous guns, numerous categories. That was always perfectly spot on. So that's good. You can definitely trust that. And then when it comes to some other things like mobility category, accuracy, handling, recoil control, all seem mostly accurate aside from a few small things. One of them he pointed out was reload quickness. So the reload time they have listed, again, it's reload quickness. It doesn't really matter. But the time they show is the entire animation. So he was testing the striker, for example. Oh. By the time he reloaded it and on the bottom right corner, it showed 30. So his gun could technically fire. It took 1.3 seconds, right? But in game, it says 2.6 seconds because they count the entire animation. So your reloads are always going to be faster than what it shows because you can easily just cancel the reloads. And you should be doing that. You should never be letting your gun fully reload. Either have the setting so sprint cancels reload and do a sprint, or double YY, 1-1, whatever your keybinds are, your weapon swap, so you cancel that reload. But yeah. But everything else was mostly spot on, yeah.
That's good still. That still is like a huge, massive improvement. And that is often going to be enough for me to build a gun and not even worry about going to like sim.gg. If I can trust the detailed stats mostly, and the only thing I'm potentially missing is where the hitboxes are, and if there are like extremity hitboxes, most of the time, if I'm like trying to select a gun to use or whatever, that's not really going to be that important. It's going to more be if I like 2 guns or 2 comparable guns and I'm not sure which to choose, then I'm going to have to go third party and see, okay, well, if one of these I do upper torso damage by shooting them in the foot, then I guess I'm using that one. And I'd have to go check. But this is still a massive improvement, and kudos to Sledgehammer. This is awesome. Oh, yeah. And it's definitely good enough, I would say, for like multiplayer, like camo grinding, you know?
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to sim.
I'm still going to continue to use it. Yeah.
And like today, I was looking at underbarrels, and there are still 100,000 underbarrels, entirely too many for guns. But now I don't have to open a website to pick my underbarrel. Yeah. Because I just opened the detailed stats and I said, okay, what do I want? I need hip fire kills with an SMG for this camo. I'm going to look at all of them and see which one helps the most. And it's very clear and easy to tell. Minus 15%, minus 20%. Okay, cool. Go with the 20% one. But there are multiple 20% ones. What's the difference between this 20% and that 20%? Well, this 20% hurts your ADS speed by 20%.
Yeah.
And then the other one doesn't hurt your ADS speed at all, but it hurts your sprint to fire time by 20%. And then I can decide which one am I willing to put up with. And I don't have to go third party anymore. Whereas in MW2, even for multiplayer, if I had to get a lot of hip fire kills for a camo or something, I would go to a third party website to try and figure it out. And by the way, you guys remember XclusiveAce saying the Cronin Groove Shot is the best underbarrel for hip fires in the game in MW2? According to the detailed stats view, he was absolutely correct. It gives you the most hip fire accuracy with the fewest downsides of all of the guns. So if that's all you want, that's still what you want to use. Yeah. And I smiled when I realized that. I was like, oh, Ace was right.
Huh?
For the reasons he said he was right, too. Yeah, so shout out to ExclusiveAce. Front of the pod, for sure.
Yeah, that's good.
Interesting little video.
Yeah, by the way, so there is when you're going through your attachments, some of them you can filter like only MW2 or only MW3 attachments. That doesn't save, I don't think. So I don't know if it's once you exit out of the game or once you exit that menu or editing your gun, it doesn't save, but it's like, dude, I want to just turn that setting on and never have to look at MW2 attachments again for a certain category. So I really wish they would make that a thing. Cause yeah, there are way too many underbarrels. It's obscene. Like I want to just look at the new stuff. I shouldn't have to scroll for as long as you do. Very annoying having that many. Like I don't even know what I've unlocked because there are so many. I don't know what new underbarrels I have. I have no idea. Because it still lists the MW2 ones first, or like it listed in a weird order because it's all like Commando, the Edge, the FTAC Ripper. Those are all still the first ones that show up.
Yeah.
So that's really annoying.
I haven't messed with the filtering yet, but
yeah. And here's the thing: we didn't need all the MW2 guns in multiplayer. They're gonna be in Warzone. It's so annoying how they did this. Just a clutter of attachments. Stuff. It just makes building guns more annoying, which is why, like I said in that Patreon episode, I don't ever even put 5 attachments on guns because they feel fine, and I don't want to look through a list of 100 barrels. It's especially I don't need it.
Yeah, it's like you would have been max level by the time you pick 5 attachments. Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah, that's it for that one. And then last video from Ace we have here. He's talking about gun kick versus recoil control in this game. So again, we have some images he took here using the Holger 556 and some plots firing it. So he shows in this first image on the left side here, default Holger 556 with no recoil attachments on it, right? So in the middle, we have one that he set up for horizontal recoil and vertical recoil control, and it helps a lot. Far less vertical recoil, far less horizontal recoil. On the far right, we can see something he set up for just recoil gun kick. And you can see it does not help with the magnitude of recoil nearly as much as like vertical recoil control is going to help. But it does control the bullets from deviating so far off the recoil path. So it's like, default recoil and recoil gun kick essentially have the exact same amount of vertical recoil, but you can see when you look at the plot, it doesn't deviate quite as much. So it's like it kind of helps with horizontal recoil somewhat. The bullets kind of just land closer together in general, but it's the same amount overall of recoil control. It's going to go up as high.
Interesting. Yeah, I see.
Then if you go to the second image, he shows a different view so you can kind of see it more clearly how it doesn't deviate as much.
Yeah.
It's almost like, maybe think of it as like less sway when firing almost. I feel like would be an easy way for people to understand.
Yeah.
It's like less aim sway.
The TLDR, based on this anyway, that I would say is that if you're trying to choose attachments for maximum recoil control, you should always favor horizontal and vertical recoil over gun kick. Gun kick does something, but it does a lot less than just horizontal and vertical recoil attachments do.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. But usually you can get both on the same attachment. But if you have to pick one,
that's what he also said. He's like, honestly, there aren't too many attachments that don't do both. He said, but I just kind of wanted to do the test to explain and show the difference in them.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
definitely favor horizontal and / vertical recoil over gun kick control. Yeah.
And then he did confirm, of course, we already know from playing the game, but guns do have less recoil on average compared to guns in MW2. And he also said most guns have less horizontal recoil than they did in MW2, which is nice as well. So he's like, this game, you usually want to prioritize vertical recoil control for most of the guns because they don't bounce around quite as much as they did in MW2. Which is good, because I think that's probably part of the reason the game has less screen shake. I feel like part of that shake is when the horizontal recoil happens, the way they tie the screen moving to the recoil plot or something. So that could be part of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I would, yeah, this game for sure, yeah, like you said, we've played it, so I can tell you already. In general, the guns do have less recoil, for sure.
Yeah.
It's not that they have none, but they definitely have less, which I think is okay. The only gun I've used that has like a lot of recoil so far is I think it's the WSP Stinger? Or no, WSP Swarm. That was the first gun where I was like, okay, this is a lot of recoil.
Yeah, that's what I've kind of seen too. It's like all the ARs, none of them really have recoil. Even the battle rifles don't have that much other than the Sidewinder. They're still just very easy to control. And then the SMGs just seem like they have more recoil than MW2 SMGs almost. Kind of weird. Maybe that's why in general people aren't liking them as much.
Kinda, yeah.
And that's why it seems like the Rival 9, everyone's like, this is the meta one, because that one does not move very much.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it, though. I like that. And by the way, if we care about realism, which you shouldn't, but if you do, that is kind of more realistic. I mean, a rifle in general is going to have less recoil. It's like longer.
Yeah.
You have a heavier stock. You know? I don't know. I've never shot a gun in my life, but that's what I would think.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah. So
somewhat for some of these guns, for sure, that would be the case. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, the caliber and all that matters too, but still, yeah. So, by the way, for all three of the videos we just referenced, I will have links to all of those videos if you want to watch them yourself in the video description here / show notes. Wherever the description is for this piece of media that you're listening to, all of these videos will be linked for you if you wanted to watch the whole thing. The TGD video or either of the two Ace videos. Those will be linked below for you. And shout out to them for doing this work. That hitbox, the biggest thing for me, honestly, is the hitbox thing and how
the head hitbox,
the entire, well, I was saying the entire arm counts as an upper chest multiplier for most guns. That's pretty wild. That would explain why the TTK doesn't feel as slow as you might expect it to. By the way, though, I will say the time to kill definitely feels slower to me than MW2 still.
Yeah.
Like maybe not as much as I would expect, but I have survived gunfights that I would not survive in MW2 a lot in this game. And I think it's good. I think the TTK is in a solid little spot in general for multiplayer.
Yeah, I think it's good. I like how it feels right now.
Yeah.
Which, I just remember not feeling that way in the beta. But as soon as I started playing the full game, the time to kill, I think, felt better. So I'm not sure if anything changed between now and then. Probably not, but that's what my experience was. Maybe just too because we have more guns to choose from now. I don't know.
Yeah, there were probably more MCW users not missing a single bullet in the beta.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting though.
Yeah.
But anyway.
But moving on from there, just a quick little PSA with aim assist. This guy mentioned earlier, Hexsmith, who does aim assist testing videos. He did post some videos, showed MW2 versus MW3 aim assist. And he even does the calculations of how much the camera moves and blah, blah. There is literally zero difference between MW2 and MW3 aim assist. So then he also tested Black Ops because people always say, oh, Black Ops gives you way better aim assist. It doesn't. It's also the same. Okay. So the magnitude of everything, the stickiness, rotational, it performs exactly the same. So I don't remember what happened. What was happening in the beta that everyone thought it was nerfed? Because immediately when this game launched, I could tell on kill cams. I'm like, it looks exactly the same. But the beta did feel different, right? It felt like it wasn't as sticky, and they all talked about it. What would that have been? It
wasn't, for you and I anyway, it wasn't that we felt like we were dying less up close or whatever. We thought this from COD Next when we were watching professional controller players whiffing a lot of shots up close. So we were like, oh, that must be because the aim assist isn't as strong. Because how else would these people be missing shots that they would easily hit in MW2? But I think maybe, like you just said earlier, it's because SMGs have more recoil in this game and they weren't used to it yet. So it wasn't a difference in aim assist, in fact. It was a difference in the weapons. And that they had more recoil, they had to like get used to that. And they couldn't exploit the aim assist as much. But yeah, the aim assist being exactly the same is not surprising to me. And by the way, after, like, right now, if you asked me and you didn't tell me, I would say, yeah, the aim assist is exactly the same as MW2. Mm-hmm. I have seen enough kill cams where I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, no, it wasn't nerfed. It wasn't nerfed. I don't care what COD Next looked like. It clearly wasn't nerfed. I could have told you that. But yeah, now we have confirmation. So shout out to Hexsmith for those details there. I'm going to give him a little follow, by the way. Just smash the follow button on that. So
he follows us on our pod account too.
Oh, nice. Shout out to Hexsmith _ Yeah.
Yeah, he puts good, because his videos are just strictly informative too. He's not on here saying like aim assist is broken over. He literally just takes tests of things and simply posts them for everyone to see. That's all it is.
Yeah.
There's no like emotion thrown into it, which is cool for something like this.
That is, yeah, that's important, I think, for sure. Yeah.
One thing I would like to see is how it works with a slide. If you can break aim assist more often in this game with the slide, and then even things like with the pads, boots, what is it? What is the one that makes you slide
pads?
Faster?
Tactical pads.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see too. If that like has a chance of breaking aim assist more often than not. So I think there are a lot of cool things I'm sure will eventually test. He usually posts a lot of these videos. But yeah, these tests were just taken like running, jogging. So that's the same speed as MW2. We don't know what it's like sliding around, if that's the same or not.
Yeah.
Maybe it does break.
I will say anecdotally, obviously I don't have data on this, but in this game, I have, especially now that I've started on SMGs, I have gotten directly behind people and finished a kill in this game. So I'll bang a door, guys in there looking at me. I slide literally right past him, turn around and dump him, and he does not turn around in time. Like I'm looking at the back of his head. That has happened already multiple times now that I'm on SMGs. And the question is, well, there are a couple questions. Have these all just happened to have been people on keyboard and mouse? That's possible. Unlikely, though, with how many times I've done it. So, but maybe. I don't know. And then another thing is that because of the increased time to kill? Where, like, I could have done that in MW2, but I would have been dead before I could even get there. Whereas now I'm not. Those are two questions. I would venture to say, though, aim assist is in fact breakable. I think some of those kills I'm describing have been me literally sliding through their aim assist. But you have to go like, I think it's possible to do if you slide at and through them, like literally to their back. I think if you slide perpendicular to them, you're probably not breaking aim assist. You're almost certainly not breaking aim assist. But if you slide directly past them, I think you can break it. That's what it feels like to me, but that's just an anecdote. I don't know for sure, obviously.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Yeah, but so yeah, that's kind of that kind of just shows there's no difference. He tested it.
And then last thing we have here, I'll give you a little break, is this Bloomberg.com article. This came out a couple days ago, before our Saturday episode.
Week.
Yeah, on the 9th. And we wanted to talk about it, but we couldn't. And now we're talking about it. So this is from Jason Schreier. And that name might sound familiar to you guys because he's the only person I know that works at Bloomberg or who has ever worked there, because he's like their video game nerd writer, I guess, reporter. I don't know, whatever his title is. But Jason Schreier he works for Bloomberg, and every leak he does, the leak Call of Duty community sees as the most reputable. So he's like very reputable. And if he says something, it's basically certainly true. And he wrote this article that says, essentially, there are a lot of words, big words, and you guys can go read it yourselves on Bloomberg.com. But basically, the TLDR is that. Hold on, actually.
Not that long. Just read it. I think there's a bunch of things in here.
Just read it. Okay, yeah, I'll just read it.
Just read it. Yeah, read it. It's interesting, I think.
Continue reading. I'm not registering. God, I hate websites. Okay, here's what he says.
Good, is it?
The latest entry in Blizzard's popular COD video game series was made in half the time of previous iterations. A fact that may be contributing to a spate of bad reviews about the game's storyline, according to people familiar with the process. Critics have panned the game, the first big release since Microsoft closed its $69 billion dollar acquisition of Activision last month, saying the storyline feels rushed. So obviously he's referring to the campaign here. Most COD games are developed in around 3 years, but the bulk of MW3 was made in less than a year and a half, said the people who asked to not be identified because they weren't authorized to speak publicly. So that he got some inside source here. The abridged production schedule proved stressful for the dev team, they said. You guys deserve to be more stressed, so let's don't include that in your article.
They deserve the stress.
Yeah, far more, yeah. I need ulcers in half of them at least. Call of Duty has generated more than $30 billion in revenue over the last 20 years. It's the most important series in Activision's portfolio with thousands of devs across the world. Blah, blah, blah. Big words, super big words. The process was hurried because this year's game was conceived to fill a gap in the release schedule following the delay of another COD title previously planned for 2023. MW3 was originally pitched to staff at Foster City, California-based developer Sledgehammer Games as an expansion to last year's title, but it morphed into a full sequel during development, Bloomberg earlier reported. So we talked a lot about this, and that had all come from Jason Schreier, where they kind of pivoted and they said, actually, we're going to make this a full game. Johanna Ferries, general manager for Call of Duty, said in a Bloomberg TV interview Friday that it's wholly inaccurate that the new game's development timeline was shortened, but she didn't elaborate. That's a lie, by the way. So Johanna Ferries, was lying when she said that.
Well, her job is to lie. That's literally
her job.
She's a general manager of Call of Duty. She lies more than anyone else. Yeah,
that's correct, and it is her job. And I'm glad you pointed that out. That is one of her job duties, is to go on the internet and tell lies. So
that's in the description. Yeah. Hey, if you can go on the internet and tell lots of lies, we'd love to have you.
Yeah, that's obviously a qualification. So earlier, the article continues, an Activision spokesman denied that MW3 was originally an expansion and said it was conceived as a premium game from the start. Again, whoever that was also lying, obviously.
They say premium game because, like Jason Schreier said, it was always going to be full price. It was going to be $70 or whatever it was.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, they're just lies from Activision. Shocking. By the way, it's hilarious that they continue to claim that it's wholly inaccurate that this game's development timeline was shortened. Bro, you released a game with 0 new maps. Like, the proof is literally there. Obviously the development time was shortened. Otherwise, we would have a single new map. I'm not complaining about that fact, but let's be clear. It's very obvious the development timeline was shortened.
Yeah.
By literally looking at or playing the game. Something that Activision spokespeople have obviously never done.
No.
But these are lies, and they're aware that they're lies. So anyway, continuing the article. More than a dozen current and former COD devs said that conflicts with what they were told at the time, the truncated schedule or development. Some of the employees said the plan was left ambiguous during the first few months of development, while others said they were directly told it was an expansion. All said they were under the impression it was an expansion until much later in the process. I totally believe this.
That's interesting how they don't know what they're working on, essentially. Like they don't even know. Isn't that kind of weird?
It is a little weird. Yeah. But if you're some dev, I believe it.
Yeah.
You know?
It would just feel weird working on a game and being a dev for something that you're actually just so out of touch with what's going on. Like you actually just don't have a clue. You're just told to do things and you do it. That would seem so weird working that way.
Like you're making
think for
like
AR, smaller,
you don't know why or like what it is.
Think for like smaller game studios like Tarkov, where it's like they have 100 to 200 devs. Every single one of those guys knows exactly what's going on with the whole game. But it would just be weird, I'm saying, like working for a company and be like, these are your tasks, do them. And you're like, I don't know if this is a full game. I don't know if it's an expansion. I don't know what game we're even working on.
Yeah.
Kind of weird.
Yeah. And having every dev know the bigger picture would probably help, because then they know like, oh, okay, well, this is supposed to be a zombies only weapon. Okay, well, maybe I can do this thing instead of that thing. I don't know.
Yeah, they're probably worried though they would actually
they
would get feedback, and then they'd have to change things from what they want to do though. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they'd have to get out the cat o' nine tails. So anyway, Aaron Hallen, the studio head of Sledgehammer, said in an interview that some team members may have been convinced the new game was an X-Pack because it is a new type of direct sequel to the previous game. Stop. Unlike previous COD titles,
that's one way to put it.
MW3 has the carry forward bullpoop. Some staff at Sledgehammer who had to work nights and they had to work nights and weekends.
Past darkness? No.
The horror. I hate that Jason Schreier included that. Like we're supposed to feel sympathy.
They had to work more than 40 hours on a video game? No.
And get overtime pay, probably time and a half or double time? No.
Not double time pay on the weekend working from home. No.
True.
The horror.
True.
The poor game devs, man.
True,
no.
dude.
I feel so bad for them.
Getting time and a half tabbed out watching Nick Merckx YouTube live streams, getting paid time and a half to half-assedly develop a game, and you're getting, again, time and a half. Yeah. Oh, the horror.
Oh, that sucks, man.
Stop it.
Damn it.
God, that's hilarious. True. Anyway, so this is what Jason Schreier said. I do not endorse the virtue signaling here, but I'll read it anyway. Some staff at Sledgehammer who had to work nights and weekends to finish the game, I can't believe it, said they felt betrayed by the company because they were promised they wouldn't have to go through another shortened timeline after the release of their previous game, Vanguard, which was made under a similarly constrained development cycle. That I sympathize with.
Well, also, hey, it's your own fault because you guys were making Cold War, right? You guys were making that game and you were doing such a bad job that they pulled your studio off it to put Treyarch in charge of it, who then had to finish the game in like less than a year. Yeah. So maybe you should just do better to start with, right?
That's a fair point.
Know. That's what you get for wasting a bunch of time and then having Treyarch release a totally unfinished game that launched with 2 maps of Cold War. Yeah. Cool.
That's a fair point. Yeah. So anyway, for the first few months of the project, which was codenamed Jupiter, don't care, the story was conceived as a smaller scale MW spin-off set in Mexico that would be more achievable on a short timeline than the usual globe-trotting escapades of a full new campaign. This is in line with leaks that we were getting Las Almas as the next Warzone map, by the way.
Yes.
At some point, that was probably the plan, and then they realized they want to sell another box this year for $70, so they changed it. This all makes perfect sense. But in the summer of last year, Activision execs rebooted that story and told the devs that instead they'd be making a direct sequel to MW2, centering on lore. The reboot ate into the schedule and forced the devs to complete the new campaign in roughly 16 months, the shortest timeline for a new COD game in years.
The campaign? You spent 16 months on that campaign?
Yeah, that's kind of a misleading thing to say, right? It's like you spent it on the whole game, didn't you?
Well, I mean, maybe they're kind of just talking. Yeah. Maybe this article is honestly kind of directed mostly at the campaign, talking about the game, Modern Warfare 3, like the campaign. I don't know. Yeah.
So it started out. So let's keep reading. The game's story has received bleak reviews from the largest gaming outlets. So they talk about, a lot of different reviewers said the campaign's trash.
Yeah.
So moving on from that, Sledgehammer's Hallen said in a statement that the game was a labor of love and that his team has worked hard to deliver on this vision, which has been years in the making. Analysts said that even a critical flop probably won't change much about the series over the next few years. Whoever those analysts are correct, are very correct. It doesn't matter how bad a COD game is. It's going to be fine for the franchise. The franchise will be fine. We've been seeing that for 5 years. They can release flop after flop after flop and still break records every year with sales. So those analysts are... It doesn't take a genius to see that trend, but those analysts are correct. I don't see it having a lasting impact on the franchise or on any of Microsoft's plans with the franchise, even if it is universally fanned, said Kevin Sow, an analyst with Bloomberg Intelligence. Kevin, you're spot on.
Huh?
But a consistent drop in quality starting with this game, he said, might drive Microsoft to shift its strategy or cut back on the annual release schedule that COD has followed since 2005. That's an interesting point. That's an interesting point and might be true, but it depends how much money they make. After Vanguard, devs at Sledgehammer had originally pitched a project codenamed Anvil that would be set in the universe of the company's futuristic 2014 game, Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, according to the people familiar. But before it could get very far, Anvil was shelved as the company was informed it was instead working on another modern warfare.
Yeah. So they wanted to make another Advanced Warfare. Yep.
Yes.
That's what the studio wanted to do, but Activision shot them down.
Yep. And a lot of people, when this came out last week, were a little upset by that. Less upset because MWIII is a pretty well-made game and it's fun. But still, they wanted to make Advanced Warfare with jetpacks and everything. And Activision told them no. Which is pretty interesting. There's one other thing in here that's very interesting, I think.
Jetpack games, a jetpack COD would never sell nearly as well, I don't think.
I don't think it'll ever come back.
Base. I literally think it will never come back.
Yeah. So, moving on. The nature of this new release was left hazy, but the scope was ambitious, including an update of the popular zombies mode, several multiplayer maps, and a campaign. Few devs were surprised when they were later told that the release would be a sequel to MW2. But the shortened cycle took a toll on Sledgehammer's staff. Again, don't care. Devs also said they were frustrated at having to run their content by executives from Infinity Ward, the Activision studio that's normally responsible for the Modern Warfare series. Staff on the game said they dealt with inefficiencies, waiting on feedback, and making significant and sometimes unwanted changes based on directives from above. Wow.
Yeah.
Big shocker. So one thing that's unsurprising from this, Infinity Ward is Activision's little pet studio. They're the teacher's pet in the classroom of development studios that work for Activision, the teacher, and they are the worst. They will tattle. They will say, did you forget to collect the homework we were assigned last night?
Oh, yeah, they are.
They do all of it. And that's one revelation here that's not surprising, and we've been telling you that, but IDub is the teacher's pet at Activision. And also, so by extension, Sledgehammer had to run decisions by IDub since this is IDub's Modern Warfare IP, I guess. Kind of makes sense, but very unfortunate. Another thing that is the least surprising thing that I've probably ever read is that Sledgehammer staff said they dealt with inefficiencies waiting on feedback from Infinity Ward and making significant and sometimes unwanted changes based on directives from Infinity Ward. So Infinity Ward was inefficient, slow to respond and provide feedback, and would make significant and unwanted changes and force them on Sledgehammer games. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
When everyone told Infinity Ward, hey, we want a traditional minimap where red dots will appear. And then Infinity Ward said, hey, that's cool that you want that, but no, we just aren't giving it to you, even though all of you want it. That is a significant unwanted change from above that was forced on the player base. So is it surprising that they deal with Sledgehammer, some other little studio they can bully in the Activision suite that way? No, it's not at all. It is funny though, but woefully unsurprising. Yeah. And then that's it.
Yeah, so there's something else. Here it is. So Charlie Intel also tweeted something relating to this. Corroborating Bloomberg's report, several sources tell Charlie Intel one of the changes Infinity Ward made Sledgehammer Games Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 multiplayer was removing a Pick-10 loadout system. The new system is a morphed version of what it once was. So they were trying to just go back to an OG Pick-10 system. And yeah, Infinity Ward was like, no, you're not doing that. So this is why they've created the system they have where there's kind of trade-offs, because this is what we first heard when we started hearing leaks probably in like March or April earlier this year, was that like, oh, this game basically has a Pick-10 type of system. That's what they wanted to do. Yeah. And Infinity Ward is like, no, we're not doing that.
Yep. And this makes perfect sense because when you look at the perk system we have now, when we were first getting leaks of the perk system we have now, Tanner and I were both saying like, oh, this is like kind of like a Pick-10 system, but not exactly.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that Sledgehammer was trying to get as close to a Pick-10 system as Infinity Ward would allow them to, since they didn't allow them to actually do a Pick-10 system. That does explain the perk system we have now. And you know what? To Sledgehammer's credit, it's still a little early for me to say this, but I've played quite a lot. I think they did a pretty good job with their perk system. It has a Pick-10 vibe to it, where there are trade-offs and, you know, meaningful perk decisions to make that are cool, and you kind of can't have everything you want. That's kind of like a Pick-10 system. I think they did a good job within the constraints that Infinity Ward forced on them. But I saw this last week, and I was like, wow, that's crazy. Would you have preferred a Pick-10 system, you think? Because the way it was going to work, by the way, the way it was going to work that I saw, I don't have the tweet pulled up or anything, is that you were still going to be guaranteed 5 attachments on your weapons.
Correct, yeah.
But
that's what I remember hearing.
A weapon itself, like a primary, would cost 3 Pick-10 points or something like that. So it wasn't going to be exactly like a Pick-10 system from like BO2, but it was going to be a Pick-10 system, except you're guaranteed 5 attachments. Attachments don't cost Pick-10 tokens or whatever. Would you have preferred that, you think?
I don't know. I mean, I actually like this system so far, yeah. I guess it just depends how they would have balanced things. I found the tweet that Bob Network posted, and so he said primaries would have been 2 points, secondaries would have been 1 point, 5 attachments on all weapons were free, tactical and lethal 1 point each, field upgrades were 2 points, blah blah. One of the perk columns was 2 points and the other 2 columns were 1 point each. So yeah, so you're getting 2, 5 attachments. That system seems not, since like you get the attachments too, and I feel like the way, like the cost for a primary and stuff, I feel like the system's honestly pretty similar to what that would have been.
Yeah, it is pretty similar.
So the gun, tactical and lethal, that's 4. If you run a field upgrade, you're at, you're at 6. So you're already at 6, and then you still have 4 more points to spend on the perks.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It definitely wouldn't have been anything like a BO4 Pick-10 system where you really have to make changes, because like that's where it really came into effect, were the attachments. Then people would just not run tacticals and lethal. So I feel like this scrapped Pick-10 system would have just almost been the same thing.
It would have been, yeah. It would have been pretty similar.
Like everybody would still be running tacticals and lethals is what I'm saying, I think. So therefore it wouldn't have been much different.
Interesting. Yeah, if you're guaranteed attachments, yeah. It's pretty easy to justify a tactical or lethal.
I guess you could have probably taken more perks. That would have been the trade-off. So I guess maybe
a lot of perks.
So you could have maybe had like 6 perks if you didn't take a tactical, lethal, field upgrade.
In BO4, you had to take wild cards to get extra perks.
Yeah.
So that kind of balanced that a little bit. So you couldn't have like 100 perks. So that probably would have been the case here also. But still, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I would prefer it, honestly. I like the system we have right now a lot so far anyway. I feel like it's fairly well balanced, but it's just egregious to me that Infinity Ward told them they can't use a pick 10 system. That's kind of insane. Like, if you want to give Infinity Ward final say on the campaign missions or the plot of the campaign, fine, because it's like their story or whatever. But why should they have a say in how your multiplayer create a class system works? Like, why is that the case? That doesn't have to do with the IP or like the story at all. They shouldn't have been allowed to just tell Sledgehammer no on this topic. Whether or not it would have been better. It's kind of cringe.
Yeah, it is.
Anyway, IDub is teacher's pet. Yeah, so. All right, other than that, boys and girls, that is it. We hope you enjoyed. As I said, I will have links to all the videos we talked about in the show notes or video description. On Saturday, our latest Patreon bonus public episode will be going public. It'll be going live on Saturday at 12 o'clock. So you can come here and watch the premiere. You can congregate like you have today. Watch that together. It was a really fun episode. It was long as well. It was like 2 hours and 10 minutes or something. We got super detailed into the multiplayer perks and all that and what's good, what's not. And I think it's going to provide a tremendous amount of utility to anyone who's playing multiplayer right now. It'll at least give you something to think about with these perks. And like, what should you really be running that? Or like, hey, you're sleeping on this. There's a lot of that in this episode, and you guys should look forward to it. It's coming out on Saturday. And then for the rest of you patrons, episodes that will not be going public, they'll be only on Patreon. Our next one is going to be a preliminary camo grind tips episode. Very much looking forward to that. Patreon.com/thedropshot if you want to hear those and more this month and beyond, or if you just want to stop listening to ads or just support the show. Patreon.com/thedropshot. We will see you guys next week. We will probably have a weird schedule then as well, so check our Twitter or Discord for that on next Monday. Thanks for watching and listening. Stay humble.
Stay humble.